Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be creating a guide on the new Blaze of Albaz starter structure deck for Master Duel. This deck is being given out for free as part of their yearly update, as it were, for the anniversary and such. Last year it was Sword Soul, this year it's branded with Albaz and such. So this deck, as it is, what you see in front of you is what you get card for card. If you are a new or returning player, as in you haven't played the game for at least 30 days, or you're literally just on a new account, you can actually receive 2 copies of this deck, which you should very much do, by both redeeming someone's code and having someone redeem yours, which you can just do yourself by making an alt account, which is free because this game is free. So, um, absolutely make sure you get 2 copies of this deck. It makes it a lot better, namely because you'll receive 4 copies of Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous, and more importantly, you will receive 2 copies of the main extra deck monsters, one of which is still only played at 1, but the fact that we get a second Albion and a second Mirror Jade is incredible. Um, so let's jump back to a starting deck of 2 of them mashed together with some SR crafts and such. All right. So here is the deck. I've played it for about 10 games. I won 9 of them. Um, and the decks I played against were all, I would say, fairly competent. All the players I was playing against were like level like 30 plus, like very established accounts. Um, so like nobody new. I didn't think I saw anything that looked like inherently a budget build. I saw people making questionable plays, but at minimum their deck is certainly strong. Um, and this one is a very budgeted version of the deck. To make this deck, you need 2 copies of the structure deck. In addition, you'll have to craft some SR cards and 4 ultra rares in total, in addition to buying a couple of the bundles, namely the Ash Blossom bundle, the Triple Tactics Talent bundle, and the Lightning Storm bundle. You'll also need to purchase 3 copies of the Cyberdark Cyber Dragon structure deck, which gives you this card, Fusion Deployment. You buy it 3 times, so you get 3 copies, which will be 1,500 gems. Very worth it. Absolutely do it. And finally, you need the Forbidden Drop It bundle, which is a card you will probably run at 3 copies when you have the fully built version of the deck. Um, I won't go over every single card in the deck. Um, there are other guides out there for that. This video is made for people to grab this deck and be playing something competent and strong within literally hours of starting the game. You can. I didn't do it myself, but I did like math out the gems a little bit, and it's only a couple thousand gems on average. In addition to getting 2 of the structure decks, so getting this is not difficult at all. Anybody who is just starting the game or has returned to the game and has like some gems to go through will be able to put this together within literally hours of starting the game. And this is a powerful deck. It is obviously not the fully built version of Branded, which features several more ultra rare crafts and such. But this is a phenomenal starting point. So, in this video, I plan on going through the deck list, what cards you're going to need to craft in case you can't tell by looking at it, which is fair. Um, in addition, what the upgrade order will be, and how you can sequence yourself into getting the much more powerful, fully built version of the deck. And then I'll show some replays and talk through them and stuff. Just kind of a generic, like, hey, here's what the deck can do. I could say, like, undoubtedly that this deck, even as it is right here, can easily beat like platinum, diamond level players. You'd probably struggle in like upper diamond or like master, but by then you have like several thousand more gems, and you'll have hopefully upgraded this deck significantly. So the 4 ultra rare crafts you're going to need are: you'll need a copy of the Bystial Lubellion. You'll need a copy of Branded Lost. You'll need a copy of Tri-Brigade Mercurier. And finally, you'll need a copy of Rindbrum the Striking Dragon. If you're wondering where Grand Guinal the Dusk Dragon came from, you gain a copy of her when you reach Bronze 4, I believe, which literally anyone can do. You'll get this very fast. So you'll get 2 copies of this as well, which is also very good. One card I will point out in particular is the Light Hex-Sealed Fusion. This is a fusion substitution card, light attribute. Basically, this allows you to cheat fusion material a little bit. And one of the things we'll make more often than not using this, assuming we go into it with like branded fusion. Quick combo, not that I ever needed it, but it's certainly a good tool to have, is you go branded fusion, you make Albion the branded dragon using Albaz plus the light hex-sealed fusion, and then regardless of what other cards you have, you can make Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon because Albaz is a dragon, and the rock becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon for you. So then you're good. And then this thing is just a big, like 3,400 is a pretty good attack stat. It can attack all monsters. It's unaffected by trap cards or effects. Just overall good stuff. So let's cut to a solo mode, and I'll just show like two or three combos that you'll probably find yourself doing more often than not when playing this deck. These are like your go-tos. Obviously, there's a lot more and a lot more you can learn, but these are like the basic ones you can expect to do very often. Okay, so in this one, I'm just going to do a combo as if I had Branded Fusion and no other cards. I'm not going to use any of these 4 in this combo. I'm going to pretend they're all dead cards or what have you. So Branded Fusion. And we will make Lubellion the Searing Dragon. Worth mentioning, this hand can do so much more than this, but you know, it is what it is. So we're going to send a copy of Albaz because we have to, and then we're going to send a copy of Despian Tragedy. Chainlink 1's Lubellion the Searing Dragon. I'm going to discard, doesn't matter because I'm pretending these cards are all garbage. And then activate Despian Tragedy. I'm going to grab Aluber. And then I'm going to have this make me Mirror Jade. And I'm going to pretend this Albaz isn't here and he's something useless. Now we normal summon Aluber. Activate. Sorry for that pause. We're going to grab Branded Banishment. Set. And then again, we're pretending these cards are nothing. And we'll end our turn. And I'm going to pretend turns passing over and minimize this. So we have a live Mirror Jade, which is fair interaction and follow-up because he'll discard or send a card from extra graveyard. You can send Brigrin, Sprint, Red Albion, Fusion, and so on. Well, why did we set Branded Banishment? Branded Banishment calls for any Despia monster or a level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard. You special summon it and then do something. We have Despian Tragedy in our graveyard, so we can target Tragedy with this, and then we can fusion summon kind of whatever we want. In a perfect world, we summon Tragedy, and they have a dark monster or a light monster or something, and then we can fuse for just some examples. We have Despian Proskenium, which calls for any Despia plus 1 light plus 1 dark. So if they were to summon a light monster, we could make Despian Proskenium. One of the better ones we would more likely do is that we could use Mirror Jade in some way, and say it's so we get its effect off, and then we can Branded Banishment summon. There's a few things we could do. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So we can use Mirror Jade and then allow Mirror Jade to die, actually. And then we can actually summon Mirror Jade back and use him again. And we can do that during the battle phase, of course. But let's say that's not possible for some reason. We can also just summon Despian Tragedy and fuse with Mirror Jade because he can also make Dragostapelia. And then this is a negate, and then we'll trigger Despian Tragedy. So, yes. This is a... It doesn't look like very much, but it is for literally just activating Branded Fusion and doing literally nothing else. You have like a multiple levels of interaction here, as well as like very strong follow-up. So moving on to the next combo. Okay, so all you missed was me pressing the retry button 3 times until I got the appropriate hand I wanted. Worth mentioning, inside my game settings, I have it set so that toggle defaults to on. So right now, all it did was stop me in my draw phase because I have some cards here. So minimizing this, we'll take a look at my hand. I have a Bystial, I have specifically Saronir, I have Fusion Deployment, I have Branded Opening, and I have Branded in High Spirits. So there is quite a lot this hand can do. But despite the fact that this is like a mega crazy, like super full combo, I'm just going to keep it low to the ground and pretend some of these cards aren't here. Okay, so the combo I'm going to be performing here is one that where you have access to Cartesia and via typically either Fusion Deployment or her herself, as well as Bystial Saronir. And it is worth mentioning that this combo also works with Albion the Shrouded Dragon. So Bystial Saronir could also be replaced with Albion the Shrouded here, and the end result will be roughly the same. So let's show that off. So we're going to use Fusion Deployment. If we had Cartesia by herself, we would just normal summon her. But I have Fusion Deployment, so she gets special summoned. Then we're going to immediately activate her effect. And we're going to fuse with Saronir to make Granguinal. Just put this over here. Rule of thumb, throw your stuff in defense mode when you can. And this is the part that will make it why Saronir and Shrouded are interchangeable here. So he's going to send Branded Retribution. And Granguinal is going to be sending Shrouded. And as you saw in that menu, I should have stopped there. You can go back and pause it. You can see Saronir was another option there because he's a level 6 or higher light or dark monster. So if we had Shrouded, we would send Saronir. And because we had Saronir, we sent Shrouded. That's why they're interchangeable in this combo. Alright. Now we're going to activate Albion the Shrouded in the graveyard to pitch Branded Fusion. And then it'll put itself back in the deck. Turn this to auto, so it gets a few less prompts. Then we're going to activate Retribution's Graveyard effect. Branded Fusion. Then we'll activate Branded Fusion. Keeping in mind we have Granguinol on the field here. Sorry for that pause. We're going to make Albion the Branded Dragon, and we're going to do so with a copy of Fallen of Albaz plus the Bystial Lubellion. Albion effect. Then we're going to be making Lubellion. We're going to be using Albaz plus Saronir in our graveyard. Discard anything, whatever the most best discard is. There are several cards in this deck that are better for discarding than others. Brain High Spirits is one of them because it comes back to your hand for free. And we're making Mirror Jade. Then we're going to special summon Lubellion. Notably, this puts Albion the Branded Dragon in our graveyard, so he gets his end phase effect. Then we're going to play Branded Lost from our deck. And then, sorry again, we're going to end our turn. And then we're going to get quite a few things are going to happen. For starters, Cartesia comes back to your hand. Brain High Spirits comes back to your hand, assuming that's what you discarded. And then the part that doesn't change is Albion the Shrouded. Here we have options. So there's two things you can do here. You can either do Branded Banishment or Branded in Red. We're going to be doing Branded Banishment in this scenario because our only applicable target is Albion the Branded Dragon. This is also potent because it allows us a way to revive Mirror Jade if we're able to do so. Also, we kind of just have a lot we can do here because we have Granguinol present on the field. Granguinol allows us to summon any Despia from our extra deck, so that'll make Proskenian for us. In addition, if Mirror Jade is messed with for any reason, we're allowed to revive it and such. So yes, we're going to be setting Branded Banishment. If you had, I'm going to minimize this, if you upgrade the deck enough and you get like Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, you can also fuse it all or summon Albion the Branded Dragon in like their start or standby phase, and then you have like 3 negates, and Branded Lost will trigger, and you get like Mercurier, which for another negate. But here we have Chaos Star Source Dragon, and we have Dragostapelia, as well as just several other options. But basically, this is a fairly potent end board. Always be mindful of how you can attempt to revive Mirror Jade. Being able to loop Mirror Jade tends to be one of the most powerful things the deck can do. So if he leaves the field and comes back for any reason, he's treated as a new version of himself functionally, and he can do his effect again. Alright, I'll show one more combo. Alright, for this last one, I'm once again going to ignore a majority of my hand. The 2 cards that are pertinent here are Aluber, the Jester of Despia, and Bystial Saronir. So we're going to summon Aluber effect. We're going to get Branded Fusion. And then we're actually going to be making Rinbrum, and we're going to be doing so with a copy of Albaz plus Mercurier. I typically summon Rinbrum in attack mode because it has only 2,000 defense, and that's a little low for many cards. 2,500 is a bit more beefy. And also, if this thing gets destroyed, it's not the end of the world because he has a graveyard effect to bring itself back. Moving on. Or Albaz. So we're going to banish this Mercurier with Saronir, and that's going to trigger Mercurier. And then we have options here. And there's a few things you can do. However, I believe the best thing you can do is to get Cartesia and such into rotation. So, because Albaz is in our graveyard, Cartesia is allowed to summon herself, as per her first line of text. And then we're going to immediately fuse her for Granguinal using herself plus the Saronir on the field. Trigger. Trigger. Then we are going to be sending a copy of Branded Retribution. And then we are going to be sending, like the last combo, Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Do not activate that yet. We're going to activate Albion the Shrouded, and we're going to dump Branded in white. Then we're going to activate Branded Retribution. And we're going to grab that Branded in white that we just dumped to the graveyard. And then we're going to activate Branded in white. And we're going to make Mirror Jade straight away. With the Albaz here and Granguinal. Mirror Jade. Okay. So, what is worth noting is that Granguinal's summon effect to summon a Despia from the extra deck is live while it's in the graveyard. It has to be in field or graveyard. So this is technically, despite the fact that it's not on our field, this is still an end board piece, even though it's currently in our graveyard. So be mindful of that. Now we're going to activate Mirror Jade, and we're going to send Albion the Branded Dragon. And then we're actually going to negate our own Mirror Jade with Rindbrum. And then we will return a card to hand, and we're going to bring back our Aluber. So we have follow-up for next turn. Then we're going to end the turn. And then we're going to activate Albion the Branded. And there is, again, of course, a few things we can do here. But I believe... Sorry again. I believe the best thing in this particular scenario will be to set either Branded Retribution or Branded Banishment. Now, what is the difference between the two, and why would one be better than the other? I believe that setting Branded Retribution is better in this scenario, as we do not have a good target currently in the graveyard for Branded Banishment. Granguino will banish itself as part of its effect to summon something, and we simply don't know what the opponent is going to do, so it is simply safer to set Branded Retribution. Oh, and then Cartesia is going to add herself back to your hand. So I'll do this and go to the next turn so you can see what happens. Draw phase. Now, under normal circumstances, Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon, his effect to banish something is only every other turn. However, if you negate this, he's allowed to do it the following turn, as if it wasn't done in the first place. So if you negate it in some way, in this case Rindbrum, you're allowed to do the effect again. Now, this is of course, very potent end board, and overall is very strong. The reason why I wanted to show this off in particular is because I wanted to show the main Rindbrum line, as well as what negating your own Mirror Jade does and what that looks like. In a perfect world, you've upgraded the deck and you sent Titaniclad instead, and you summon Quem in your end phase, and then Quem dumps Albaz, and then it's just simply more effective end board. But this is like not that far behind. All right, so let's go and talk upgrades. Okay, we're back with the deck. So now we're going to go over the upgrade order. A lot of these are going to be craft only cards that currently aren't in a secret pack. I expect, because these cards weren't in the deck and they included things like 2 copies of Cartesia and stuff, that these cards may appear in a either updated secret pack or a new secret pack soon. And the first one, and in my opinion, one of the most powerful cards in the deck, who's an end board piece in of herself and looks very unassuming, is Guiding Quem the Virtuous. You will craft 1 copy of her, and you can simply add her to the deck. No swaps necessary. This will just be the first thing you do. You add a copy of Quem, and then hopefully, in addition, or very close to making this, or shortly thereafter, you want a copy of Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon. And at this point now we have to make a cut because we're over the limit of 16. So we're going to make the most logical cut will be to take away Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This is a powerful card. I like this card, but it's not at the same level as the rest of the branded deck. Another option you can do if you particularly like this card and want to keep it for a little bit longer is that you can cut Brigren the Glory Dragon. He's certainly the Albaz fusion we use the least, and is kind of just in here for budget reasons. Sprint is going to be one of the last ones to go. So, we'll assume that you've, well, we'll say we cut Brigren. You know what, I've kind of talked myself into it. I think cutting Brigrend is a little bit better because at least Starving Venom is generic, and you can make it off of things like Branded Banishment and what have you. So I kind of talked myself into that one. Next, we're going to upgrade our extra deck again with a copy of Queritus. This is another ultra rare, of course. She is a very powerful card. Very, very, very powerful card. This is a... I won't explain her too much, but she's much stronger than Despia and Proskenion. Despia and Proskenion's not bad, but man, is Queritus a lot stronger than it is. Next, we're going to start beef up the consistency of the deck. It is worth mentioning that at this point, you're probably considering making things like Maxi. It's probably, I believe, consistency and like being able to reliably access the deck's entire engine appropriately is more important than Maxi. But if you want to play Maxi, at some point you're going to add this card, and this isn't going to be in the list, but at some point you either have it or you're going to have it. You'll have 2 copies, and at that time you're going to cut the Lightning Storm because now you have a proper going second card to replace it. And you can also cut the triple tactics talent, or if you like talents for some reason, or exceptionally so, you could potentially cut a copy of Albion the Branded Dragon, but we'll assume that based on the current deck list, you've decided to cut triple tactics talent. Now from here, we're going to be working on more deck consistency. And that is going to start with a gold sarcophagus. Just 1 copy for now. You'll make the second one later. You can just add this as it is and then not cut anything. Then the next card you're going to add is Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial opens up a lot of combo lines. It is powerful in sending, you can send Tragedy, you can send Saronir, you can send Shrouded. It is just an overall very good card. Sometimes even just sending Fallen of Albaz himself is correct. Emphasis on sometimes. Next, we're going to be beefing up our extra deck again with one of our best boss monsters, Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. And now, Starving Venom no longer makes the cut and gets removed. Sanctifier is an extraordinarily powerful card. However, we don't really have, up until this point that we're at in the deck right now, we really don't have the backbone of the deck to support him quite yet. However, by this point, you have Quem, you have like Titanic Clad to access Quem more reliably, and so on. So that's why we wait to get Sanctifier here. Still a very powerful card, but we need other things and reliable access to those things before we get him. Next, we're going to make our final big extra deck change, which is getting Predaplant Verte Anaconda. And then at this point, Sprin the Iron Dash Dragon gets cut. And this is also still like very good and strong. Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon could be cut instead, but I believe it still has value at this point, as the last card will change as part of our like upgrade process for the extra deck. This extra deck, however, as it is actually quite competitive. But yeah. From here, we will now craft the second copy of Gold Sarcophagus. Again, this can be added to the deck straight away. I believe at this point, the deck is now strong and consistent enough that you don't really need Ad Libitum anymore. If you wish to continue playing Ad Libitum, you can, and simply keep him in the deck. However, I believe it's at this point that he no longer makes the cut. With 1 copy of Foolish Burial, 2 Gold Sarcophagus, I don't think Ad Libitum makes the cut anymore, and he gets cut. Next, we're going to make the final extra deck upgrade, which is Light and Darkness Dragonlord. And now Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon is done, and in addition, the Light Hexield Fusion will go away as well. And then this is basically a completed extra deck. You could this extra deck here will like be playable upwards to like Masters no problem. You could actually like never change this and you're pretty much fine. The only card that will be subject of debate is Predaplant Dragostapelia. This card is a flexible slot in which we can swap in many cards. I believe the best one is Boral. Borreload Furious Dragon. That's it. The order in which you upgrade the deck from this point becomes a bit nebulous. However, 1 card before you add Furious. I'll just throw it in here so I don't have to come back to this. But you would be doing this later. But the final big card you need is Thrust. And it's 3 copies. And this will be the thing that like really ties your engine together. And then simultaneously, you'll be running a copy of this card called Fusion Duplication. Just 1 copy. This is also the time you reach the decision of whether you want to go to... as you can see, the deck is now over 51 cards. This is the time where you decide, okay, do I want to go to 60 cards and adjust my deck that way? Or do I want to try and optimize the deck and trim cards out and get to something that's like 45 cards? Pretty much a lot of people will say like, oh, 60 cards is better, and like very like one and done, no nuance. However, I don't think that's the case. I think now that Branded Opening and Aluber are both back to 3 copies, I think there is a genuine argument to be made for playing low card count lists, as well as Bystial Saronir being at 3. We have so many cards back to their uh, ratio of 3 that I think it is worth considering, playing 45, 46, whatever it is, cards. Getting to a strict 40 is like very hard. Getting to 45 is more realistic. However, most people who watch this video will be attempting to make the 60 card version of the deck, so that's what we'll do. From here, the deck is fairly strong, and it is worth mentioning that this deck here can get Master 1. Like this is now a super easily Master level deck. This is a Master level deck, but we're going to make it better. So first things first, we're going to get our best board breaker in here, Forbidden Droplet. Max this out at 3 copies, easy. In addition, we're now going to get our second copy of Guiding Quem the Virtuous. You can continue to play her at 1 copy, but I personally prefer her at 2. In addition, either now or before, you've likely gotten more copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, so we're going to max her out as well. Next, and we probably would have done this a little bit ago, and I was incorrect. Sorry for the jump cut. Back to this. I forgot to mention Bystial Magnum Hut. I would have added this to the deck a good while ago. I kind of forgot him as I was talking through the upgrade process. In terms of the upgrade process, where he would be added is likely right after or before the second copy of Gold Sarcophagus. This is a powerful card. He works as a hand trap. He's a generic searcher for all dragons, which gets you to either Albaz or Saronir or Bystial Lubellion or Albion the Shrouded Dragon, depending on what your hand is, whichever one may be best. Just a super powerful card that is also very good in the current format. As this is, as of the recording of this video, it is the Fiendsmith format. So the Bystials are exceptionally strong right now, as they are the best way to counter Fiendsmith. And let me add my glossy one. So from here, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want to do? And the question is, at this point in deck building, you are probably, let's be real, just copying whatever the current best version of Branded is and what the appropriate tech pieces are. Again, as of the recording in this video, it is Fiendsmith, so we're going to go up on the Bystial engine. So we're going to add 2 more copies of Bystial Lubellion, and we're also going to be adding 2 copies of Bystial Druisworm. And we're going to be trimming out these Droll and Lockbirds, and then we're going to get Fubulos, the Mulcharmy card. And then the ratios in which you play these are subjective, but I think something like this is very strong and effective. Okay, hopefully that's the last pause I need to make during the deck building. So, this deck, oh, hold on, I should probably, I forgot fairly important cards. These are staples you add to every deck. Woo! And again, the ratios are always going to like bump around and change a little bit, and so on and so on. Something like this, maybe. Yeah, something like this. Some people are going to scratch their head at 2 Albion the Shrouded Dragon, but I think because Bystial Saronir is back at 3, that reducing this to 2 is perfectly fine. We already saw people doing this even before Bystial Saronir came back to 3, reducing Shrouded to 2 to run some other card. But yeah. Anyway, however you want to do it, um, the upgrade process is fairly not linear, but also not too difficult. So let's see the deck in action. Obviously not this version of it, just the more budgety starting version of it you saw at the beginning of the video. Alright, so this is one of the first games I played with the deck. I misplaced slightly, but I still think I'm overall like doing quite well here. So I'm going to go through Branded Lost into Branded Fusion, sending Albaz and Lubellion. I'm going to grab Cartesia, and then I'm making, of course, I'm going into Mirror Jade here, and I'm going to pitch this Lightning Storm that I do not need. I get... Summoning Lubellion here had no purpose, pretty much just opening myself to Nibiru, so summoning Lubellion because I already have Branded Lost on the field was a mistake. I basically thought I was on my Branded Bystial deck and kind of muscle memory was taking over. But, you know, same diff. Like, it's any light or dark for Grand Guignol. And I'm actually going to pitch Ad Libitum because in the end phase I'm going to be setting Branded in red. And then here we see Harpy's Feather Duster. So I'm immediately going to make Predaplant Dragostapelia using Mirror Jade. These get blown up, super unfortunate. Basically the best card they could start their turn with. And I'll resummon my Mirror Jade. Now we see it is Sword Soul. So first I'm going to summon Proskenion just to have it and trigger my Grand Guignol. But more importantly, I'm going to trigger Predaplant Dragostapelia here for two reasons. Number one, I want to negate this because I don't want them to spawn the token. And number two, this turns it into a level 1, which is just a very powerful thing to do. They're going to summon Longwan, and I'm actually going to make the decision to, based on the knowledge I currently had of what they had, I actually banished the token to try and keep them off of being able to make any synchro monsters. But of course they had Taya in their hand, so they're able to play through a little bit anyway. However, I have Albaz and Rinbrum in my graveyard because that's what I sent with Mirror Jade, so that made my Albaz live. And then I'm going to fuse with... I don't want them making a Synchro 10 if I could help it. So I'm actually going to be summoning Sprin the Iron Dash Dragon here, who stipulates that it can be any effect monster that was special summoned this turn. So I'm going to not let them make like Baronne de Fleur or, you know, Qixing Longwan or whatever. Instead, they're going to go into Baxia. They're going to send some cards back, and then they're going to make SP. And it's like, cool, you made SP. And then Typhon. Typhon's going to blow up Dragostapelia, and then they're going to forget how this card works and not attack me. And from here, we're basically just going to win the game. Typhon against Branded is like one of the worst things ever because it simply doesn't bother a majority of the deck. Its Floodgate effect only works against things with 3,000 or more attack. And as you'll see, that doesn't super matter. So, I'm going to start with Cartesia, just in case they have, like, Effect Veiler or literally anything stupid. Just leading with Cartesia when you're able to do so and summon her for free tends to be correct every time. I'm going to get Branded in white here because I have an Albaz in my graveyard and quite a lot I can do. So, there goes Lubellion, and I'm going to make Albion the Branded Dragon, second copy. And then they see the writings on the wall, and they're going to say, like, see ya, bud. From here, like, I don't really need to explain, but there's so much I can do, and they're just super mega dead, which is why they scoop. Alright, here in this game, my opening hand is fairly strong. I misplay ever so slightly, but I kind of make it work in the end. The opening hand is a little bit awkward, but we can do a lot with this. So, um, rule of thumb, if you can lead with fusion deployment, summon Cartesia going first, it is, I want to say, almost always correct. Like at least like 90-95% of the time, it is almost always correct to lead with summoning Cartesia against a opponent going second, because it gives you protection from things like infinite impermanence, effect veiler, and just any targeted negation effects like that. Alright, so I'm going to summon Cartesia, and then I'm going to fuse her with Despian Tragedy to make Granguinal. Granguinal, Chainlink 1, Tragedy Chainlink 2. I'm going to send Ad Libitum, and I'm going to grab Branded Fusion. I'm going to Branded Fusion for Albion the Branded. And then I'm going to basically throw away this, the Light Hex Sealed Fusion, which is a mistake, but, you know, whatever. I want... Before this goes on, I want to point out this was a mistake because I should have just banished the Albaz. It was just straight up a mistake to not use the Albaz here. So don't do that. Just use Albaz and then send Albaz back to deck. I misclicked. Is what it is, but you know, whatever. All right, so I summon Lubellion, and then I'm just going to sequence through my effects, and then I'm going to set Branded Banishment. So let's look at this end board, because you're not going to be able to look at it for very long, as you'll see in a second. We have Branded Lost, we have Forbidden Droplet, we have Branded Banishment, we have Mirror Jade, Granguinal, and Bystial Lubellion. Inside our graveyard, we have Ad Libitum of Despia as a Branded Banishment target. We have Despian Tragedy as a banishment target, and we have Albion the Branded Dragon as a banishment target. So tons of banishment targets we can go into. We have a live Mirror Jade as well, so let's see what they do on their turn. They normal summon a card that does something, and I'm like, cool, I want to get rid of this as quickly as possible, so I'm going to banish it, and then they scoop on the spot. I paused here so I can at least still show everything before the game like cuts it off. But what I was immediately going to do after this resolved, I can't even click. Might be stuck. Oh no, the buttons like kind of work. But I guess I'll just like talk through it instead of being able to click around. What I was going to do is I was going to, after this chain resolved and priority passes back to me, I was going to Branded Banishment, target Ad Libitum inside my graveyard, and then I was going to, before they even do any other plays, because they led with a normal summon, so how much more could they have, right? I was going to summon Ad Libitum, and I was going to fuse it away with Mirror Jade to create Predaplant Dragostapelia. And then Ad Libitum would trigger inside the Banish Zone because it got used as a fusion material and got banished. And I would summon Mirror Jade back, and now I have another Mirror Jade activation I can do, and Dragostapelia. I'll be honest, most of my games went like this. I played like 10 games. The only game I lost was to full power Tenpai, and it's because they god-handed me with Max C and 2 copies of DD Crow, one of which I hope they drew into and they didn't just have it, and some other 4th card I forgot. And even then it was still a close game that they really had to work for. But after, and that's with like this like super budgeted version of the deck, I'm like, all right. Oh, they had Sangan Summoning. That was their other card. They just got to slam Sangan Summoning straight away. And I was just like, you know what? If this deck is good enough that it can make it so that Tenpai, the previous best deck in the game, has to basically god draw against me to like stand a realistic chance of victory against a like standard setup in which they got to DD Crow me twice and banish 2 Albazes to mess with my fusion summoning, I think the deck's pretty good. Normally I would show more replays and such, but I believe the deck does kind of speak for itself. I do want to keep the video as short as I can help it, but overall, I think this is a fantastic starting point for new players. I know a lot of people will say like, "Oh, why would they make branded the starter structure deck branded so hard to play?" That's really not the case until you add many more of the branded cards. Even in my other like deck I put together, I don't even think I put like grass looks greener in it. Um, and I just like forgot to add the card. But I was kind of like just throwing cards at the wall. By the point in which you'd be adding this card to your deck, you have like everything else. Regardless, I hope this video helped people out. I want to shout out a few resources, which will also be linked in the description. So let me show those real quick. The first thing I want to shout out is the in-depth branded Despia guide made by PoisonRose. This is slightly out of date. However, it has all of the main cards. It's missing like two, I think. Um, like Light and Darkness Dragon Lord and one other card I can't think of off the top of my head. But this guide's like very in depth. It covers all of the cards. It it goes over how many of each you should play. It explains what they do, and so on and so on. And more importantly, it has this nice combo section. Something I recommend a lot of people do is literally go into the solo mode, choose to go first with your deck, and then just like look at your opening hand and then look through this section and go like, oh hey, my opening hand has um, Aluber plus like Bystial Lubellion, and like what's the board I can make with that, and things like that. This is a great resource that I really recommend. Some of these lists are of course out of date, but you can find more lists on this website just by going to like tier list or top decks or whatever. As of the recording of this video, Branded's in tier 3, so there's plenty of decks to look at. And the tier list is a little nebulous right now because Fiendsmith was just added to the game, so I imagine this is going to be changing significantly within the next week or two. In addition, for those who want to look at the cards and whatnot, this will also be linked in the description. I have the deck list and that I was showing off in the video. In addition, the side deck has cards you should keep an eye out for while you're gathering your collection together. It has all the like main upgrades. It has basically everything. Well, mostly everything. Um, Obviously, I have a limit of cards I can put in here, so I can't put like for those who want to play Super Poly. I can't put in like Mud Dragon of the Swamp, for example, because I just ran out of space. But of course, you would try and play that if you could, as a Super Poly target alongside Garura. But overall, I'm happy that Konami added the branded starter structure deck. I think it's a very powerful deck that allows players to upgrade it very well. I think it has everything that a starter deck should have. It is out. It works out of the box with just a few tweaks and whatnot. Especially if you get two copies of it. If you get two copies of it, it's instantly like a diamond level deck with like a couple SR crafts and whatnot, or at least platinum for sure. And then you have like some like pretty easy targets to go either pull for from secret packs or hard crafts such as like Sanctifier and Quem and what have you. And overall, the deck is very enjoyable to play. So, I hope this helped out somebody. These links will be in the description. Have a nice rest of your day, and see you later.